Hey everybody. Hey, I hope you guys have had a good week. It is Saturday, it's the end of the week, which means it's time for end of the week rambles. I have noticed a dip in the ratings for the show. I do take a look at that. So one of the things I've decided is, one of the things I thought worked really good is when I was a little more focused on some things. So I'm going to try to be more focused. I'm going to try to look at things, look at certain subjects that are in the news, and talk about things that I just enjoy talking about. And one of the things that I've always liked to do, I like to talk. So I'm going to look at this more as an opportunity to talk to you guys, to talk about different subjects that I like. It may take a little longer. I'll put the subjects that I'm talking about down in the information so you can see what those subjects are. It'll be a variety of subjects, and I think it'll be entertaining, and I also think that it will also hopefully be informative. Now when I talk about politics, I'm not going to necessarily tell you what I think of a certain candidate or what I think always. I may interject some thoughts of what I think and how they may not be doing things that I think they should be doing. I'm not necessarily going to tell you how I vote for certain things. I don't think that's necessary, but I'm trying to do that because we will be talking about politics quite a bit on here. We're talking about sports, baseball, college football. I'm not a huge fan of the NFL, but I did watch the Super Bowl last weekend, and congratulations, Bronco fans. Your Broncos won, and good for them. It's probably Peyton Manning's last chance to win a Super Bowl, as he's getting up there in age. Now, he hasn't talked about retirement, as everybody keeps saying he's going to retire. I don't know if he will. I've heard rumors that he may go to San Diego. I don't know. I'm a big Tigers fan, so you may see me and hear me talk about the Tigers, which they've got some things going on. So not too much of a new format. I'm just going to try to be more focused. What did we see? Last week was the beginning of Lent. How many of you practice Lent? It's 40 days before Easter it starts, and the idea behind it is that you give something up and that you then take the time that you would use for that thing that you gave up to dedicate to the Lord. I am going to talk more about that in Let's Talk. Nate won't be joining me this week in Let's Talk because he's got a couple things he had to do. So we're going to talk about Lent a little more in depth. I don't want to go too much into it here in this show. But just to mention, it did happen this week. Started Wednesday. We also had anything else? New format. Let's talk about the elections. Let's talk about this. Some interesting things happen in New Hampshire. And the New Hampshire is, to me, this strange kind of state where I don't know if we get a really good read on either party and what's happening. Donald Trump came surging back. Jeb Bush came surging back in some ways. Rubio dropped. Ted Cruz dropped. But can we take this all and say this is going to shift everything? Bernie Sanders won. Clinton lost. The thing about New Hampshire to me is everybody votes. And by everybody, I mean if you're an independent, you can go in and say, I'm going to vote for the Republican primary. And I don't know if that's a good idea or a bad idea or an indifference, because I suppose if you're an independent, you are going to lean either to the right or to the left anyways, and you're not going to necessarily be completely leaning, independent. You probably vote more often Republican or Democrat, or, whoever has the ideas that you agree with most. So we have that happening, and Donald Trump's taking the momentum. He's mad at Cruz. Cruz is mad at everybody. We had a lot of people drop out of the race on the Republican side. Chris Christie dropped out. Carly dropped out. Some guy named Gilmore dropped out. Ben Carson has not dropped out yet, and I find this interesting because he's not done well anywhere. And the polls suggest that he might be coming in a close fifth in South Carolina. I just looked at the polls before coming on here so I could get the latest. And they're a mixed bag of polls. But some suggest that Ben Carson may not be savvy enough, or his handlers haven't really told him it's pointless, you're not going to win, drop out. My thought is, after this next week, we have, is it Tuesday, Wednesday? I forget exactly when, but this week South Carolina is going to the polls. The Republicans are debating tonight. Democrats had their debate. I'm going to talk about that in a second. But what I wonder is what we're going to see with Rubio. Is he going to kind of surge back into second place? It looks like, or third place. It looks like he may be. When Ted, so to me, you have Donald Trump. I don't know that he's going to last. I just don't know. Is this love fest for Donald Trump with part of the Republican Party really going to continue on? Or are they going to say, you know what, we really like what he says, but we don't really want him as a candidate as we get further and further and further into this, and the real candidates begin to show up and begin to talk? Because Rubio's approach to this, and I just read an article on this earlier today, Rubio's approach isn't so much to win the first 3 or 4 states, but to go on to Super Tuesday at the end of March and begin to win there, because as he puts it, he is repetitive because not everybody's hearing his message, so that's why he's so repetitive. And I agree with that to a point, and he took the blame for losing New Hampshire and not showing up very well, and he may be turning things around. But Jeb Bush also came along and sounded very, very good, and he did very good. So the question is Cruz, is Trump, how does that affect everything? How does the people dropping out? All those that were with Chris Christie now going to go to Jeb, or are they going to go to Rubio? I don't believe that those who are with Chris Christie are going to Cruz or Trump, but they're going to go, or are they just going to split themselves among Jeb? Are the Ben Carson people still going to vote for him? Or are they going to say, you know what, he's not going to win, so who's going to swing? And the question is there going to be a deal brokered in a back room somewhere between everybody that says, okay, X candidate, you're out, but you can have a great position as vice president or secretary of state underneath candidate Y. It'll be interesting to see. And here's why I wonder if Trump can really win, because I don't know that he's going to get, Cruz is going to stay in as long as possible, and he's going to split that vote. The question is, are Cruz fans really Trump fans, or are they going to drop back to Rubio or Bush? And I think these are your top 4 guys. These are the guys that are going to battle it out. I've also read that Rubio's hoping that by the time they get to the convention, there's no clear winner, and it's going to have to be a broker deal there. I don't know how true that is. I read that article. But let's get to the Democrats, because I find this to be very interesting in the Democratic race. So Bernie Sanders wins, and he wins big in New Hampshire. But the question is, can he win in the SEC states? And many people don't believe that he can, because he's not going to get the vote from the blacks or from the Latinos, but those are going to go to Hillary. But I think the Democrats have to be really scared. Not because of Bernie, but because let's say Hillary does come out and win this, she can't win a debate against Bernie Sanders. How is she going to win a debate against any of the Republican candidates? And that includes Donald Trump, who doesn't debate well, but did look a little better in the last debate. She's not going to be able to win those. So the Democrats may be getting scared. And I have heard rumors, and I've read rumors that there is a call. Now, when I say I heard, I mainly read. I don't have any great political friends that tell me anything, so don't take. But there is a theory floating out there, and I've heard this from more than one source that I listen to and that I read, that Joe Biden is going to jump into the race. That there is a call. That the Democrats at the top are talking to Joe, saying maybe it's time. And maybe this was his plan all along, to see how Hillary did against Bernie Sanders. And if she wasn't going to win it, and it looked like she wasn't, he'd jump in, but he'd have the time to kind of rest up and get ready for the long haul. I don't know how true that is, but it would be interesting to see if he does jump in, if it looks like things are going to go bad for Hillary, especially with all this email stuff following him. Now let's talk about Bernie Sanders for a minute. Here's the thing, and I'm going to be very honest. Bernie Sanders probably isn't going to win. And here's why. He's a socialist. Yes, Democrats lean towards socialism to a point, but Hillary did have a good point. How's he going to bankroll all of the ideas that he wants to do? How's he going to get free college, free medicine for everybody, free doctors for everybody? And let's take a look at this. Socialism, at its core, is not just about free college and medicine. It's about the government having more rule than you would think. Bernie isn't a true Democrat. He isn't even a registered Democrat. He's just running on their ticket. He's actually registered as a socialist. For those of you that follow and love Bernie Sanders, stop and take a look at England and Canada and all of those and say, do we want to pay a 40% sales tax? Do we want a 40% income tax? It's not going to come from the top 1%. As Bernie keeps trying to say, it's not going to work the way he says it does. Start opening your eyes and reading, and start reading and see what's happening in Europe with these countries that have tried to be socialist. Let's be honest about this. Socialism does not work. It is a great theory, but it doesn't work. Now this comes back to how do we as Christians who follow Christ, what's our responsibility? Because I think at the core of socialism says that man will not do what man is supposed to do and take care of his neighbor. The core of Christianity is Christ, and Christ told us the greatest commandment is love God with all your heart, followed by love your neighbor. If we as Christians and as the church begin to take care of our neighbor, then the idea of socialism coming in and taking care of everything and the government taking care of everything and providing the things that people need kind of go away. That's just my little soapbox, but back to the idea that socialism just doesn't work. Socialism normally, either you have like a partial socialism like Canada where their medicine's all socialist and is provided by the government, but they have extremely high taxes to cover that. And that's the same with England. Or you have what happens in the old USSR, Soviet Union, where Karl Marx tried to do it, but then got killed and communism moved in, and the same with China. But we have to look at this and we have to study this. So how do you vote? I don't care if you're Democrat or Republican. The best thing to do is to look at the candidates and say who is really going to do the best job and get the things done that I want to see done in government. Now this is a hard question. I don't particularly look at a candidate's religious stance anymore because I don't know that we can even believe what candidates tell us about their religious stance. If we begin to look at it, they may tell you they're a Christian in one state, and then when they go to the other, they won't even mention it because that state may not like that. It's kind of like the Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz went to South Carolina and he won't even talk about his religion. He won't even talk about following Christ as he did in New Hampshire because he felt the voters in New Hampshire would vote for him if he said he was a follower of Christ. So I don't always look at that as I'm going to vote for so-and-so because they say they follow Christ. You may have noticed that when I talked about the Republicans that I did leave Kasich out of this. I don't think he's got a chance of winning, even though he came in a strong second. He spent most of his money in New Hampshire. He's not getting any more money, and he's too much in the middle for most Republicans. So I think he's really out, even though he won and people are excited for now. I don't even know that he could win in Ohio. He's Kasich. So, but it's interesting. The race is interesting. We'll take some more looks at it next week again as we move beyond South Carolina, who will vote this week. The Republicans debate tonight. I've just stopped watching the debate and watch the highlights in the morning and read about them. They're hours long, and I feel like I already know what most of them are going to say, but I'm interested to see how Rubio does tonight. If he comes out strong, if Jeb comes out strong. Like I said, I think the four main candidates left in the Republicans are Donald, Cruz, Rubio, and Bush. Those are your four, and we'll see out of those four which one is going to win. What else do we have? This is a funny thing. The SEC commissioner has come out and he's upset with Michigan football. He's upset with Jim Harbaugh because he's holding his spring practice during spring break in SEC territory, and he's really upset about this. This is really a genius move in some ways by Jim, because he's going to be able to have practice there. He'll be able to possibly gain better recruiting ground because of that. But the SEC is mad about this, and there's nothing they can do. Really, I think the SEC is saying, you shouldn't practice during spring break. They're taking the break away. They don't care about that. But the real question should be asking is, how is Michigan bankrolling this? This can't be, this has got to be expensive. You've got food, you've got lodging. How are they doing this? Their players are going over there, practicing, but how are they paying for it? Now, as long as it's legal, I don't care. Hold your spring practice wherever you want. Michigan, I've said this before and I'm going to say this again. Enjoy your time with Jim. It's a limited time. Before he went back to coaching college football, he said he did not want to do it. He doesn't like college football. He doesn't like recruiting. He doesn't like babysitting. He loves the NFL. The question is, will there be a team that's going to give him that chance to jump back in? And apparently he wasn't interested in any of the teams this year. Well, it was too early. I've joked about how he was going to jump this year. But wait till the end of next year where he may jump ship. He may not. He may be waiting for that perfect team. The 49ers were not that team. They fired him because of disagreements, but that turned out to be a big mistake for the 49ers, and everybody saw that, and now they're trying out Chip Kelly, and that's a weird decision to me in a lot of ways, because Chip Kelly really, really did a horrible job with the Eagles. But from what I understand, they want another control freak, and Chip Kelly is a control freak. I don't know how true that is, but he lost all respect for the players and the Eagles team and had no control of that locker room. So that's weird how he's done that. We're going to do Monday talk again. It's not taking off very fast, but we're going to keep trying. I'm going to mention this week on Monday I will be talking to you guys about the latter half of chapter 5 of Galatians and how we follow Christ and being led by the Spirit, living in the Spirit, living by the Spirit. What does that mean and how does that work? Listen, guys, if you like this, if you're enjoying this, please share this. Please put this out. Please let your friends know. Please subscribe if you feel that I deserve this. Like I said, we're going to work on this. Hopefully in the next couple weeks, this end of the week rambles will get better and better, and I will be working at making it better and being a better host to you guys. And like I said, I'm going to try to make this more like just if I was on the radio talking to you guys, and just have some fun with it. I enjoy doing this. This is why I keep doing it. Like I said, we'll probably be talking a lot about politics in the next few weeks because it's what's in the news. We'll talk about baseball's coming up here soon, so we'll start talking about that. And football's over, so I don't follow hockey. I can't talk about hockey. I don't follow basketball that much, but March Madness is coming up. Once again, I don't follow the NCAA basketball that much either, so I'm still going to put a bracket together. I do it every year, and just for fun. But we'll be back with you Monday. I will talk to you again on Wednesday. We'll be talking about Lent. Once again, please subscribe, please share, please like, leave me a note, and I will talk to you guys later. You guys have a good upcoming week. Bye.